Okay, I think we'll get started. If you're coming to us from the GNL project, I encourage you to go look at the introductory video to make sure this is the right series for you. This is particularly one of those days. This is going to be a pretty short video because my class at Concordia, we did sort of an in-class hands-on lab activity associated with projectile motion. But I do want to say a few more things about that, and particularly for the Concordia students, sometimes when you're first learning something, to do it with your hands and get it internalized it is helpful, but it's nice to get a step there where you're working on paper, pencil and paper. So we're going to take a couple of projectile motion problems, one that's a little specific or special, and then one that represents a general type of problem. Okay, so let's now think about this. We've talked about this ball dropping problem, and there we just drop the ball straight down. Well, what if we throw it straight out, straight across, right? So it's coming off, it leaves our hand with a horizontal motion, and we're 10 meters above the ground, just like before. Well, what's going to happen to that ball? It's not going to drop straight down. It's going to go out here, but it's not going to continue to go straight like this because we have the pull of gravity taking it to the ground. So it's going to arc down and hit the ground somewhere over here. And so that is a projectile, and this is projectile motion. Clearly, this is a two-dimensional case, but we'll see here too, just like the ramp case, well, similar to the ramp case, not exactly like the ramp case, but similar to the ramp case, we'll be able to talk about this as one-dimensional problems. In the ramp case, we completely eliminated the y-axis, or the y-prime axis, and everything was along the x-prime axis. Here, we can't do that. We have to work with both axes. But the fact of the matter is, we can split this problem in two because the x and y coordinates are orthogonal. They're independent in this problem, in this type of problem. So a motion of an object near the surface of the earth, so a projectile motion problem. They're independent, and it turns out that the x direction undergoes uniform motion. So we're ignoring air friction, any kind of drag. So we have uniform motion. If I give it a horizontal velocity of 5 meters per second, it's moving horizontally at 5 meters per second all the time. The speed in the y direction is changing. It's getting bigger. It's accelerating towards the Earth. And so taken together, this falls to Earth as we would anticipate. So we have two 1D problems now. So both of these are 1D. So we've effectively reduced this 2D problem into 1D problems. We just have to do two of them. And sometimes they couple together and we have to use both equations simultaneously. And one thing, if you're just stuck, it seems like a really hard problem. Quite likely be a two equations, two unknown problem. So it isn't straightforward to solve for one thing and then solve for another thing, or cleanly solve all of this and then all of this, or all of this and all of this. Sometimes we have to use the equations together and get the solution via our back to high school algebra and the two equations, two unknowns type problem. The first one we will get a clean separation, but the more general one, example number 2 here, we're going to get we're going to need a two equation, two unknown situation. Okay. Let's go through an example here. So we're going to do just the case of a horizontal throw. So there is no vertical velocity, right? So we have a velocity vector now. We have to talk about this as a vector, and we put a line, arrow on top, and we know that V initial here is going to be Vx initial, Vy initial. So it is now a 2D vector. So we have to be careful of both components. All right, let's say we're on this building. We're 10 meters high. We throw the ball, and we run out here, and we check that it landed 30 meters away from the edge of the building. So we're 10 meters high. This is here. This is 10, and that's 30. Let's see if we can figure out the velocity at which we threw it. Now, let's, before we even do anything, let's anticipate what this is going to look like at the end. This is what we really don't know, right? We know that that's going to be 0, right? Because we know up and down velocity. So our vector is going to have just a Vx initial component, right, in the end for this special type of problem. Okay, so we know that y initial is 0, and we're trying to figure out x initial. Okay. Well, what are we given? Let's get the rest of what we're given. X initial is 0, and x final is 30. Y initial is 10, and x final is 0. Well, let's use our kinematic equations for y here. So here's our full-blown equation, and we now just plug in what we know. What's nice is the initial velocity is 0, and the acceleration due to gravity is minus 9.8 meters per second. So what is this problem? It is exactly a free fall problem, where we just let the ball go and it drops to the bottom. So the y component of this is just undergoing free fall. Even though it's arcing outward, it's arcing because we have some x component contributing to the motion. So we've already solved this problem. And in fact, we solved this exact problem, I think. So we just solved for delta t, and I think it comes out to be 1.43. Once you check that, make sure I've got my arithmetic correctly done, or my algebra. So now we know the time it took for the ball to hit the ground. Okay, that could have been a question. How long was the ball in flight? But we want to go further, and we want to say, how fast did we throw it initially? We don't know that yet, because nowhere in here have we gotten the Vx. Okay? So this is a case where we can solve for one, use one equation, solve for one, and then use the other equation to solve for the other. The delta t that the x experiences, that's the same as what the y experiences, right? Because that's just the time the ball left, from the time the ball left the hand to when it hit the ground. So it's undergoing vertical motion and horizontal motion during that same time interval. So we just use our simple kinematic equation for one-dimensional motion, and we get, or for uniform motion, sorry, uniform 1D, and we get a value of 21 meters per second. We know this is 0. We figured out what this is, so we have our full vector. It's pointing in this direction, right? Because that's the way we threw it, pointing in this direction with 21, comma 0, right? And so the magnitude of this, if we wanted the magnitude of this, it would also be 21. So the magnitude of this vector would be 21 meters per second. Okay. So this is a typical problem. This is a problem that we'll run into a lot, where maybe a car runs off the edge of a cliff or something like that, or some kind of thing like that. The other example we want to look at is more general. So now we're going to be on the building, but we're going to throw the ball up at some angle. And we want to figure out the same thing. What is the velocity vector? So let's say we're at height 10, 30 meters again, but now instead of throwing it horizontally, we throw it at 28 degrees above the horizontal. So 28 degrees above the horizontal. That's our initial trajectory. Now, of course, it arcs over, but all we care about is right when it leaves our hand. And so we can write then the x component and y component just using our trigonometry. So we've practiced that a lot now. We want to be really good at going back and forth between the angle and magnitude and the x and y components. And that's what we need desperately here. So we can write this. We can't get all the way down to a number, but we can write this in terms of, right, in terms of the magnitude. So if we find the magnitude, we have now found both of these components because of this equation. Okay, so it's looking like our job will be to find this magnitude. X is 0, 30 again. Y initial is 10, and 0 again, right? Okay. Well, let's write our kinematic equation. So I won't write it again. I'll just take this up over here now. And so we have final is 0, 10, right? And then we have an initial velocity, which causes some problems here. We were lucky over here with our free fall problem that that term dropped out. So now for sure we will, for sure we have this extra term here now because of this. It's not 0. And then this is the same as it was over here. So it's undergoing the same dynamics. It just has a different initial velocity here. So we're stuck. We have one equation and two unknowns. Okay, so that should scream to us that we need another equation, right? We need a second equation so that we go 2 equations, 2 unknowns. So let's bring this guy in, right? We don't have to solve it all the way. Let's bring in the uniform motion. So our uniform motion looks like this. And so we have x final, x initial, and then our initial velocity in the x direction, right? That's this, times t. So we could do 2 things. We could, well, really we're stuck here. We have to do substitution method. So we'll solve for one of these and then substitute. We'll use one equation, solve for one, substitute into the other equation. And you can go solve for either. I'm going to solve here for delta t. So I'm going to solve for delta t. So why don't you work this out here and see if you get this. Just going to divide 30 by 0.88 v, right? And so that ends up being 34 over magnitude of the velocity. Okay. Now, we plug this in. See, we've solved this. So we plug this in here and here. Right? It's going to get complicated because we plug that in. So we have 0, that's this same 0, here's this same 10, here's this same 4, and then we have plugged in now, this is this bit here. And then this is this bit here, that whole thing squared. Okay. Well, this is looking a little messy, but we can make some progress. Look at this, we have these cancel. But unfortunately, we can't just solve this and take the square root because this guy's in the denominator. So what would be nice is let's get that out of the denominator by multiplying this whole equation through by v squared, magnitude of v squared, right? So I'm going to get 10 times v squared plus 0.47. The 34 is just coming along for the ride. These have canceled, right? So there's nothing there, but I'm multiplying by the square. And then we have this part over here, which is now just a single number here. It's not, the v is gone because we have multiplied through, and this is squared up here, so that's going to be squared, and that will cancel. So maybe pause, if you didn't follow that exactly, pause the video until you see how we get from this line to this line. Well, now we can factor out, right? We can factor out this. This is about 15, right? This is 10, so we get it, or 16, I guess. So we get 26 v squared. And then this turns out to be, it's a rather big number because we're squaring 34. But now we can just take the square, we can just solve and take the square root. So we'll bring this over here, divide by 26. So this is the square root of 5,664 divided by 26. And that gives us our total magnitude. Well, now we just use these equations and we get our components, 13 and 6.9, and that is our vector. So we know the vector components, we know the total, and we know the angle. The angle was given to us. All right, well, that's really it. Of course, the problems will come at you in a lot of different ways. So again, as you will hear me say in class, one of the best ways to study is to make up your own problem. So once you feel good about this, make up another problem like this, very similar to this. And then when you feel good about that, make up a problem where instead you've given an initial velocity and you want to find the angle. Or you have a velocity and an angle and you need to figure out how far it goes. So all sorts of different combinations can come out of these problems. But when you have it understood, they'll all look like one problem. And so you'll know you're there when all these projectile motion problems, even as different as they come at you, if they all seem the same, that means you've got it pretty well understood. So keep working until you get there. All right, so that's it for those of you in the GNL project. For the Concordia students, try to connect this to that tennis ball experiment that we did in class.